Welcome back, everyone. As usual, we are two dudes. That's two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis, as I hit my hand
Hello.
on this. What was that?
I don't know.
All right, cool.
Spasm.
Spasm. All right, well, today we're going to talk about what some people would view as a cult classic. We're actually going to talk about the 1982 film, The Last American Virgin. And this is going to be a little bit interesting, kind of similar to the Goonies. Lewis had never seen this movie until what? About how long ago was it that you finally saw it?
Not that long ago, man. I want to say within the last year or so, all the way through that I'd seen it in a
Yeah.
sitting. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I actually saw it when it came out. Um, we talked about before, Foster City used to have a two-screen theater. And for a while there, they were showing double feature discount movies at some ridiculously low price. It was like $1.50 or something to see two movies. So, when there wasn't stuff to do, man, I'll go see two movies, sure. And I saw some bad movies there. And it's crazy because I remember seeing Megaforce there, Bolero, and The Last American Virgin. So that's why I saw it. So the tagline to this movie was "See it or be it." Since I didn't want to be it, I went and saw it. You waited longer. Yeah. So 1982 is Last American Virgin. What were your initial thoughts when you saw this movie?
My initial thoughts were that it was a little cheesy, but it's also very real, right? It taps into something that you don't see a lot of other movies tapping into from that era of this genre. So I want to sort of go into it, but I also don't want to be a spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen it. Uh, uh, I don't know. I'll let you do that. If you take that route,
Well,
I'll spill the
I'm
beans.
spoiling it. The movie came out in 1982. If you haven't seen it by now, sorry. Um, yeah, it's kind of funny. I think I remember seeing it initially, and it was kind of promoted as like one of those typical teen comedies that was coming out, right? Kind of raunchy, some female nudity, which always appealed to us, young boys at the time. It looked like kind of similar to like Porky's, I would say, and that's how they promoted it. And it was really interesting to me because this was one of those movies that the first half of the movie is that movie, and then it's almost like they take a completely 180 and make it a completely different movie the last half of the movie. So it was like, huh, that's kind of strange. So I thought it was really interesting what they did with it. This was one of those movies from a company called Canon. Canon was kind of famous in the 80s for low budget slasher movies, martial arts pictures, and things like this. And this actually was a remake of a movie from Israel called Lemon Popsicle. And I think they did several sequels to it in Israel. Obviously, and I think that was originally the idea with this one, that they were going to be able to do several sequels to this. And of course, nothing ever came out of it. But and if you like this movie, or if you're interested in canon, there is a phenomenal documentary out there. It's crazy, and it's called Electric Boogaloo, and it's a story of Canon Pictures, and it's just insane the stuff that was happening at that studios. They made a lot of, like, it was a lot of let's throw things at the wall and see what sticks. They made a lot of low budget movies. They're making way more movies than the average studio. And then I think it was one of those things where they kind of just went under when they tried to get kind of compete with the big boys. Like, I think there was a joke in the movie that Sylvester Stallone, would take, like, what would it take for him to do a Canon picture? And he said, like, $10 million, and they gave him like 15 or something like that. And of course, they don't get a Rocky, or they don't get a Rambo. They got Hudson Hawk, or not Hudson Hawk. What was the over the top. Forgot the name of his character in that movie, but yeah, because everyone was dying to see an arm wrestling movie in the 80s.
Oh, I remember that when he was a truck driver. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
I forgot his name. It wasn't Hudson Hawk. That was Bruce Willis, but it had a similar name to, like, one of those typical 80s names, right? Where you had to have some cool name. But I forgot the name of it. But yeah, let's get back to Last American Virgin. So the movie starts. The main characters are Gary, Rick, and David. Those are the three friends that are all hanging out. And Rick's kind of the ladies' man. David's, the overweight, funny guy, kind of the cliche. And then you have Gary, who seems like the guy is just trying to get laid. And then later on, really wants a relationship. So it's like I said, it's like two different movies because the strange thing is some of the hijinks in the first part of the movie are things like there's a penis measuring scene in a locker room, which I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I've never had that. I've never had a penis measuring competition or something like that. Thank God, I would have run out of there really quickly. Not just because I would have lost, but and then things like they're going out. He's delivering the pizzas, and Gary's delivering pizzas, and one of the customers is trying to hit on him, and everything else, and really, really strange stuff. But the one I remember is when they meet up with the women, and it cracks me up. Gary is trying so hard to remove the girl's bra, and I was, to this day, that's like one of the funniest but yet most uncomfortable scenes because he's trying so hard and the girl is just sitting there like eating popcorn and paying like hardly any attention, and it's such an awkward scene, and it gets to the point where he grabs a pair of scissors and he's going to cut it off of her. So I don't know, that was one of those cringeworthy types of scenes that you didn't usually feel those types of scenes back in the 80s.
That was a great scene. It's funny because as I've been going through and doing a little bit of research on this, you and I talked about this. I like the movie so much that I'm buying it on DVD, and it's got a real endearing quality of it, especially in the beginning of it, with scenes like that, with scenes like where the girls are like, "Hey, do you guys have drugs?" "Oh yeah, we got it in the kitchen." And they go to the kitchen and they're like, "What are we gonna do? We don't have any cocaine or anything," because that's what they wanted was cocaine. And "Oh, okay, well, you sweet and low." And they bring out a platter of sweet and low, and they're all snorting sweet and low, going, "Yeah, this is good stuff." Definitely had some of
Really
that Porky's
smooth.
as definitely had some of that Porky's element and some of that Fast Times element. And as you mentioned, it gets to a point where it does this turnaround, and I really give the main actor, I played Gary Lawrence Monason, a lot of credit because at that ending scene, man, you just feel his soul just leave his body, right? It's just you feel his pain, and it's just amazing how he portrays that. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. It should have gotten a lot more credit for it what it was and what it is. And again, so much that I'm buying a copy of it.
It's funny. I think it probably would have gotten more consideration had it just not seemed like two different movies, right? I think that was the big problem, is because you went into it expecting a certain type of movie. It was advertised as such. First half definitely delivers on that, and the second half is a gut punch. But so let me ask you, Lewis, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Were you ever in Gary's position where that bra was just very difficult to get off?
It has happened.
All right. Yeah, my one of my first girlfriends, unbeknownst to me, had the clasp in the front. You imagine where that went. So, yeah, but I definitely feel. So let's talk about, and then the interesting thing too, which I about the movie is at one point they go and they visit a prostitute. Again, themes that weren't really discussed in the 80s. Like, yeah, I'm sure there was prostitution. I know there was prostitution. Um, the oldest profession in the world. But one of the interesting things I thought about that movie was, even though it was like a comedic movie, especially in the beginning, is there were consequences for that, and they all got crabs. And the awkwardness of them having to go to their pharmacy and discuss with the pharmacist and try and explain what they needed, and him being an a-hole and knowing exactly what they had, and making it even more uncomfortable, was pretty funny. But it was also very interesting that they had, they discussed such consequences about, some of the sex acts and unprotected sex, things like that.
Again, it's one of those things where it tapped into something that was very real, right? The awkwardness, as you'd mentioned, of somebody that age or any age going to a pharmacist, going, "Yeah, I've got itching. It's down there." And yeah, the pharmacist totally playing off of that and having fun with it. It touched on things that that awkwardness, and the same thing with Gary wanting Karen so badly, and the things that he went and did, like well, I mean, I never did this, but sort of planning out where he took out air from her moped's tires, so he could go ahead and give her a ride. He was just like desperately wanting to be with her, and it just tapped into a lot of that emotion that I could relate to back then.
So you were a stalker, is what you said.
No, no, like I said, I never did that kind of thing.
What I didn't realize is the actress Diane Franklin, who, if when you watch the intro, that's who I'm pictured with. She's deaf in her left ear, and so that's why they never showed her actually riding the moped, because of the deafness in her ear. She has problems with her sense of balance.
Huh.
And I was like, huh, kind of interesting there. A little tidbit for you. But yeah, so let's get into that a little bit more. So yeah, the new girl comes to school, Karen, played by Diane Franklin, as we stated. Um, Beautiful young woman comes to school, and Gary immediately, locks on to her, and that's the one he wants to be with. So much so that, he lets the air out of her tires. And then she ends up with his buddy Rick. And I have never been in that position where I lost the girl to a close friend, but I could definitely feel his pain in regards to that, right? You want this girl, you want this girl, you want this girl, and she ends up with the guy. You're like, you can't believe that she's with this guy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's got a super sting. I've never actually experienced that before either. I have experienced liking a girl and the girl liking, a friend of mine and not me. Uh, but have it go that next level to where, they actually get together, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt bad.
Yeah, and I think they portrayed that well, and that's kind of when the movie starts shifting, right? That's when we meet Karen. She starts hooking up with Rick or dating Rick, and then the movie shifts. And as we know, sorry guys, turn this off if you don't want even more spoilers. But at that point, we find out, big shock in a teen comedy, Karen is now pregnant, and Rick is the father, or the father to be. That was kind of shocking.
Yeah, it was, again, touching on things that were actually real, right? That happened. It happened to many people, when we were in high school. And yeah, it was real, and sort of the dealing with the consequences of that, and Gary, trying to sort of get in there, being the emotional crutch and saying, "I will help you, and I'll sell everything that I freaking own in order to help you get out of this mess," and sort of being, what they call a common day simp. And but again, it was something real. I mean, that happened. People, got pregnant.
You said it happened a lot. What the heck was going on in Aragon, man? I didn't remember that going on in Hillsdale. We were the good kids.
I wouldn't say that it happened a lot specifically at my high school, but I mean, you know of a lot of people, or at least heard of a lot of people that were, in teen pregnancies and whatnot. It wasn't something super unheard of.
No, but again, this is where the movie kind of, changes complete direction from this body comedy to this, and it was kind of it was strange to see it play out because up until that point, everything was fun and games. Typical '80s comedy about a bunch of horny teenager boys trying to get laid, and now we're like, wait, what are we? What's happening here? Now we're dealing with these kinds of themes, and like you said, the actor that portrayed Gary, you could see that he portrayed it very well actually, because actually I found out both Rick and Gary are openly gay. So yes, he portrayed his lust for Karen even better, having known that. But yeah, so Karen gets pregnant. Rick, being the bad guy, no longer wants to have anything to do with Karen. So, like you said, Gary swoops in. He sees this as his opportunity to be there for Karen, the woman he loves, and like you said, sells everything for her and gets her the abortion that she wants. And after the abortion, he puts her up in, I think it was his grandmother's house.
Hmm.
Yeah, they never explained where the grandmother was, right?
I just assumed she died.
Ah, all right. So the grandmother's corpse was left in the back. I was always wondering about, like, where's this grandmother? Is she on like some cool cruise? Maybe they talked about it. I forget, but
I don't remember them touching on that at all.
no. And I remember, like, his buddies, they're all going on a I'm sorry, on a skiing trip. It's around Christmas. He doesn't go on the skiing trip because he stays back with Karen. And, the one thing I always thought was weird is he comes over and he's got like a mini Christmas tree and oranges. What was up with the oranges? Like, was there a guy on the side of the road selling oranges as he came by with to get the Christmas tree? And he's like, citrus, I need it. Did you ever?
Perhaps. I didn't even notice that, man.
You didn't notice that? I'm like,
Oh,
what's up with the oranges?
it's hilarious. Must be a California boy.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember that many street vendors back then where I'd be buying a whole thing of oranges on the way home with my mini Christmas tree. But okay. So yeah, so after that, they go through all this, right? Gary is in love, completely head over heels with Karen, and Karen seems to be, in love with him, thankful for everything he's done. And he goes out and he's throwing a birthday party for Karen. And he gets her, I think it was a nice, really nice locket, right? And he had it
Yep.
engraved, like, can you engrave this? Gets the thing engraved, goes to the party. He's all thrilled. Where's Karen? Oh, I think she's there. And I think it was the kitchen.
Hmm.
And what's happening in the kitchen, Lewis?
There is Karen making out with Rick, and the way that they did that scene, oh dude, that was heartbreaking. And the way that they did the scene was really, really well done because you see the back of Rick's head and Karen's face over his shoulder, and there's sort of an embrace, and she's, got this big smile on her face, and her eyes are closed, and then they open up and they see Gary, and that's where it just starts there, man. It starts and they switch back and they show Gary's face, and he just did such an amazing job of portraying all the feeling that you would imagine that would feel like, just again, your heart being ripped out of your chest.
Yeah. It was, really sad because, in my opinion, Rick looks at him kind of like, yeah, thanks, you did me a favor, and now she's back with me. He seems smug. I don't know. I don't know the expression Karen had. It just, it was one of those things where it was really difficult to watch. And then you see his face, and he's, like you said, he's shattered. He is completely shattered, and so am I because I'm expecting to watch some teen comedy hijinks. And now I'm feeling horrible for Gary. because he's going through all this after he did all the nice guy things, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then the movie ends, and what does it end on? It's Gary driving away, tears are falling, and end credits. And there's your movie. And
Yeah.
I remember just being like in shock in the theater, going, "What just happened here?" Like there is no redemption here, nothing. And I'm walking out of this movie. Probably one of the, even though people, like I said, it's not a movie people think of, but probably one of the saddest endings of a movie that I've ever seen, at least the way it affected me. And I think probably because I related so much to Gary's character, right? Trying to do all the right things, be the nice guy, be there, and god damn it, the cool dude always wins out.
Yeah, I remember just being downright pissed off when that ending happened. It did not sit well with me at all. I'm just like, no, it can't end like that. It just can't end like that. But that's exactly how it ended. Um, the Karen's character, going back to what you were saying, where you didn't remember what her reaction was. She acted that out very, very well when she first saw Gary and she was in
Rick's
Rick's arms. Because she portrayed this. You start seeing her eyes well up a little bit with tears, and her head leans against Rick's head like for comfort, but you could tell she's conflicted. She's feeling the pain that she's inflicted on Gary, but she's also sort of in a moment with Rick. She did a really, really good job of doing that because that's hard. It's just like it's this tornado of emotions that she must have been feeling, and I thought she did a really good job of portraying that as well. Yeah.
Nice tornado, Willis. I like that. So, a little trivia for you. You had three actors in this movie that went on to portray, well, may not necessarily big parts, but they were in classic 80s films other than this one. And I'll see if you know. Diane Franklin. What else was she in?
The only thing I remember her being in was Better Off Dead.
Perfect. You got that. Ding, 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 ding. Steve Anton, who played Rick.
No clue.
No clue? You saw it recently.
Goonies?
Yes, he was in the Goonies.
Who was
Remember,
he?
he was the rich guy Troy.
Oh, the Mustang.
Yes,
Ah, all right,
yeah.
all right.
And then Lawrence Monsoon, who played Gary. Remember what he was in?
I don't.
Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Wow,
We all
really?
know was a bold-faced lie in regards to that. So one of the other things that we have to talk about in regards to this movie um, is the soundtrack. And I know I mentioned it before, but my God, there's just so many amazing songs on this. I think this was the first soundtrack U2 ever was on with I Will Follow. You had the Cars, you had, the Commodores, you had James Ingram's Just Once, Journey's Open Arms, REO Speedwagon, Keep on Loving You. Um, I think I'm trying to think. There were so many great songs on the soundtrack.
I think Devo was in it too, wasn't it?
Yeah, Devo was in it. I think Whip It.
I think it was Whip It, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't during the locker room scene. I have to double check that. But
You'd know
they,
who won.
huh?
Then you'd know who won.
Um,
Bad visual.
yeah, thank you. Favorite song from the soundtrack?
Oh man. That's a hard one. I love REO Speedwagon. I love the Journey. I couldn't pick just one.
I remember "Shake It Up" was featured prominently. I think it was "Shake It Up." But
Yeah.
yeah, for me, within the context of the movie, "Just Once" was
Oh,
just
oh man.
heartbreaking. Just
I'll
heartbreaking.
I'll definitely never listen to that song the same way again.
Well, had you listened to it before?
I just listened to it for the song, right? Now it's going back to sort of our last episode. You're associating it with that scene from the movie, which was a very powerful scene. I'll never listen to it like, and not think about this thing again.
Yeah, it's crazy. But no, it's real interesting too, because like I said, you saw it, in your 50s, and I saw it when, what, 1982, I was, how old? I probably was
14, 13.
yeah, like 14, 13, 14 when I saw it. And that this, regardless of our ages, when we saw it, that last scene hit us the exact same way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Completely identifiable. And again, you can just feel it. You can just feel what the character is feeling. And I
Yeah.
was pissed.
Damn you, Karen. Yeah, Diane Franklin was so good in that, and you know, I gotta say, super, super wonderful woman. She was very nice. Got to spend some time with her. I talked to her more about Better Off Dead, to be honest. I was talking to her about that film and John Cusack and everything, but I wish I'd, asked her a little bit about this, but I didn't know we were going to do an episode later on. But yeah, very, very nice woman. Still absolutely beautiful. Great, wonderful person. Really enjoyed meeting her. And, I should have told her, you screwed up. You should have picked Gary.
Well, they were both gay, so really, I mean, she would have lost either way.
Oh, yeah. Maybe the sequel should have been Gary and Rick get together.
There you go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, and then Karen gets to look and cry and drive off to Just Once.
I think we need to start a GoFundMe on this one.
All right, so the GoFundMe page will be up in about 20 minutes. I'm a producer now. Who knew? Um, yeah, hell, do it modern day. Yeah, even better. We'll make this happen. Uh, Rick ends up marrying Karen. They have 3 kids together. She goes to Gary, who starts raising her kids. And Gary and Rick discover, that they're both gay. And they end up together and they leave Karen, and Karen's crying. Oh my God, I'm
That's brutal. But yeah, you've got it right there, man. There you go.
call
There
me,
you go.
call me. Somebody in Hollywood call me. I think I can do it on $150 budget. I think so. Maybe 200. So, um, before we go, I do have to apologize. I'm a little tired today. Didn't get a lot of sleep. I had the great fortune of going last night to seeing Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel at in concert. So
Very cool, man. That's awesome.
they're very, yes, they have a lot of hits in the 70s, but they also have a lot of hits in the 80s. This was my second time seeing both artists. It's crazy. I realized that probably the last time I saw Stevie Nicks, I was like 14.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been like 40 years since I saw her perform. Really cool. She played a great selection of her hits, Fleetwood Mac, and she also performed Free Fallin' by Tom Petty, which I thought was amazing with the little tribute to Tom Petty. Um, talked about Christine McVie before she performed Landslide, which was her encore. And playing the part of Tom Petty during Stop Dragging My Heart Around was none other than Mr. Billy Joel.
So cool.
So that was really cool. And Billy Joel came out. What can I say? That guy is amazing. And you just forget how many hits he had. And even driving home, my friend and I were listening to the Essential Billy Joel, and her and I were talking about going, my God, look, you can play this song, you can play this song. And he performed 21 songs.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it was very interesting. The second time I saw him, the first time I saw him was probably before, a little bit before the pandemic, probably 2019. I saw him at one of his Madison Square Garden performances. But this was, super cool. Especially he opened up with My Life. And I was like, yeah, the opening from Bosom Buddies, it doesn't get any better. And then the encore, man, was just like an 80s smorgasbord of We Didn't Start the Fire, Uptown Girl, Still Rock and Roll to Me, Big Shot, and I think there was one other that he performed. Just an incredible, incredible show. And you have to enjoy these legends while they're still with us. Sadly, a lot of them we're losing a lot of them, and it was just really, really great to see. So yeah, fantastic concert, and a lot of '80s, so it was a good time.
That sounds like it was amazing. Yeah, Billy Joel, he's a great piano player, great singer, and yeah, he's got tons and tons and tons of hits. I think I've got like his CD collection. It's like a 4 or 5 CD compilation, and lots and lots of great music on there.
Is it out of cellophane?
It's actually out of cellophane.
Do you ever listen to it?
I haven't listened to it in a while, but yeah, I did listen to it quite a bit.
All right, good. It's nice to know. I like to call you out on your cellophaneness. All right. Well, I think that about does it. If you guys haven't seen The Last American Virgin and you haven't been completely spoiled because we gave away the whole damn movie, still check it out. It's worth it. Love to hear your thoughts on it because, like I said, it seems like two different movies. It's suddenly this hijinks to this very serious after school special, but done much better, and it's pretty powerful. As you can hear from Lewis and I, we had the same reaction in completely different points in our lives, and the reaction was pretty much unanimous in how we reacted to it. So check it out if you have checked it out. Love to hear what you thought about it. Put it in the comments, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and Lewis, if you have nothing else, I think you should take us out, brother.
I want to say one more thing. For people that haven't seen the movie and that decide to see the movie, the 3 girls that the guys pick up on in whatever the diner that they were in, there is this one girl in there. Her name was, I believe, Roxanne. The actress is Jerry Idle. Tell me that that doesn't look like that girl from One Day at a Time. Please tell me that it doesn't look like her because it looks exactly like her. And I think I'm calling out the
One day at
right
a
series.
time. Valerie Bertinelli or Mackenzie Phillips.
No, 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 that's not it. Give me a break. It was give me it
Huh?
was I think it was Give Me a Break then. The one
Okay.
the one with Mel Carter in it.
Nell Carter.
Mel Carter.
Nell.
Is it Nell?
Yes, she was a female.
Oh, there you go. Well, it could be Mel and Melanie.
It was Nell.
Oh, could be Mel.
Okay. So wait, what show? Facts of Life?
Not no. Maybe I'm completely confused here,
All
man.
right. Well, here's the next 10 minutes of this. Keep going with this.
And we've
Come
only got
on.
4 minutes left.
Yeah.
I'll have to find out what the series was, man. But she looks like the spitting image of this girl
Are you mean
that was
Facts of
in.
Life?
Maybe it was Facts of Life. She was the younger one. She had braces.
Is the one that had Tootie and Blair? That
Can't
show?
remember. No, and that's gonna irk me. I was convinced it was One Day at a Time, but that's not it. I'll have to look it up now, man.
All right. Well, thanks, Lewis. You completely destroyed the ending of this to go off on some tangent that you didn't even have a freaking answer to. That's awesome. Way to go. If you have complaints, please put them in here and please address them to Lewis and his lack of ability to describe this. It was all this great build up, and then you get the wrong show.
Well, maybe the public can help me. It's again the girl's name's Roxanne.
What is the
It,
show about?
it's one of those typical sitcoms that was like One Day at a Time, Who's the Boss is it was from the 80s. And she was the youngest. I think she was the youngest one on the cast, and she had braces. And she is a spinning image of this chick. Although I don't think it's the same girl.
No, oh God, I know. I think I know the show, but I can't think of the name of it. But I wasn't the one that actually brought it up, so I probably shouldn't have to think about it.
That's fine.
All right. Well, this came to a really bad ending. So since we sucked at this, and I'm not going to edit it so everyone can see your suckage, take us out.
Peace out
Thank you, guys.
and help me.